I need 30 minutes to show you my great product. Why? What's in it for me? Go be good at what you do and stop chasing the likes and the fame and the attention. What I just wish people would realize is in the email, strip it all down.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of In the Nest with Parakeet. I'm Cynthia Handal. I'm GTM advisor for Parakeet. I have one of my favorite people in the entire world. His name is Tom Slocum. I'm really stoked to have Tom today. I think Tom has been a mentor and a friend to me. He was one of the very first people who welcomed me to the tech community. He's famous for his, Rev Genius cold calling competitions. And he was one of the very first sales gurus, influencers I've followed for the past 3 years. My team and we learned so much from him. So he would obviously had to be one of the very first guests that we had on our webinar and podcast series. So Tom, welcome.
What an intro. I appreciate you. And yeah, we go way back. It's been a hot minute, and I learned from you just as much as you've learned from me. And just kind of how to crack the outbound nut and help our teams, right, be better leaders, help our teams and reps find what's working. So I appreciate the kind words, and I am very excited to be on episode 2 today.
Excited to have you here. So for our audience that they don't know Tom, obviously, Tom is a top LinkedIn voice. He's actually verified people, not those fake verifications. He actually has a blue badge, like actual verified from LinkedIn. Can you share a little bit about your sales journey and how you got into this? I know you've had like a long trajectory, VP of sales across your industries, how you started and how you started your own agency.
I've been in sales since 2007. So it started a long time ago. This is year 18 now for me. And it was just kind of accident, like a lot of folks, right? I did grow up kind of excited to get into sales. I thought kind of the business tie, the suitcase, the travel, the white picket fence, that was the dream. And so, I was just trying to find something stable in 2007. And so I was bouncing around, but I ended up at like Discover Card, Yelp, GoDaddy, some really big names, and had a lot of opportunity to kind of be a full sales cycle rep before we knew what that term was for a lot of these jobs, right? I was doing everything, sourcing, closing. And then in 2016, 2015, I kind of fell in love with top of the funnel. I got an SDR job and I loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, I only have to focus on meetings and just kind of that top of funnel world and not have to do all the closing stuff. And so now, after a decade as a full sales cycle kind of sales professional, I then ended up going into top of the funnel. And since 2016, 2016, I've been in that realm of top of the funnel. And it just drew me in there because the whole sales world it's a lot of what people don't have nowadays in our world is like the love of the game.
And you and I always talk about that people like the influencers, like even though you and I have big audiences on LinkedIn, but I think you're one of the few people that I can relate to that it's who actually knows what they're doing, who has done the work himself. Like I was just telling AJ and Eric from Parakeet the other day, like this guy knows his shit. Sorry, AJ, for that word, but you actually work with companies that are not in the tech world or not in SaaS, don't live on LinkedIn, and you actually know how to get meetings for these companies, that their prospects are billion-dollar companies, that they're doing solar, they're doing energy, they're doing anything, and they don't live on LinkedIn, and you're landing meetings with those companies.
Yeah, it's because of the love for the game, right? And I know influencing and I get it, but a lot of them, they're sharing templates, they're sharing tactics where they live in the sales world together. They're calling sales leaders, they're calling VPs of marketing that live and die by their calendar every day. They're used to cold outreach. And I did that for a long time. I've been in SMB, I've been in mid-market, I've been in enterprise sales, closing six-figure deals. But a lot of times you have to get your hands dirty in organizations that aren't in that world. And so getting to work in crypto, oil and gas, automotive, even the SaaS products that I've worked with, all of that just allows me to be a true practitioner and have a love for the game of how do we source meetings that are industry agnostic for everybody. When I share tips or I'm trying to talk to people in the community, it's just like, hey, this is what I'm seeing, this is what's working, and here's how it can relate to you. And even when I share my calls, I try to break it down of like, look, I'm calling VPs of sales, CROs. I understand that, but I'm also prospecting these people, and I'm listening to my reps make these phone calls. Calling a Fortune 500 CEO is a lot different, or going into crypto market and sending emails. Right now, we're in oil and gas. Another one we're working with is food and beverage distributors. So these are two very different worlds where these people are on job sites, they're out in the field. They don't want that cool SaaS email you're sending with a GIF in it that's like, hey, can I just pop in here? And it's just a different world. And the phone works really well. What I have learned is the phone kind of works across the board, right? That is industry agnostic, is get on the phone. But email rules and email plays are all different in those industries and different approaches.
That has set you apart like from other agencies and like from traditional outbound sales strategies, is that you're out there doing the work with these different companies that nobody else is doing. Everybody's just targeting companies that live on LinkedIn. Everybody's just doing a repeat of use video, use this, use that, and you're there. And I think that is what sets you apart. Like, I cannot emphasize on how many times we see like LinkedIn influencers starting their own companies, and you and I are like, let's see how long they survive. It's like it's not easy to start your own company, especially a sales agency, getting started, getting the clients, building the trust, building referrals like the ones you get, that you get a ton of referrals and all of those referrals end up closing because you have a relationship with somebody that referred them over. It's not easy.
It's not easy. And as you transition from, doing outbound sales, or these people that might be listening like, hey, I want to go open an agency one day, or I would love to do my own thing. I try to tell them like, you could be a great account executive, a sales rep, a sales leader, you could do all these things. But when you make that transition to go out and build your own business, nothing prepares you for it. Like I was 15 years in the game. I'm going on year 3 now running the SD lab. And for 15 years, I was in the trenches doing everything. VP of sales, SDR manager, IC, full sales cycle rep, all these things. But then when I dove in to run my own company, I had to take on all these roles. I had to be the marketer. I had to be the CRO. I had to be the outbound rep, the SDR, the AE.
Revenue and sales.
All of it. Yeah, operations. And so when you're transitioning, I was very fortunate that outbound was always a part of what I've done. Cold calls, pitching strangers, like all this stuff for me. And so when I launched, it got really real, and I had to eat my own dog food. I had to take what I've done and go out and do it. And the biggest challenge in transitioning that people don't realize is you don't have any brand equity at first. Like when you go away from a company they've got the marketer, they've got the rev ops, everything's handed to you on a silver platter, and you think you're so great at what you do. When you then go out on your own name and your own entity and you start cold outreaching to people, they have no idea what the SD lab is. And they're berated with all this noise of other agencies and all this stuff that it is so hard to amass that brand equity as quick as you can in order to survive, right? And so all I had was me, my phone, and like my reputation, right, of what I've been able to do, and did it without a fancy brand. And so you just have to realize it's a hard thing to do, to run your own agency. And to your point, I got very lucky in giving a lot and earning trust with people and getting credibility of, to your point, I'm a practitioner. Interesting fact, like I've made 500,000 cold calls in 18 years. I still do it every day. I am still grinding for my company, because even as a sales agency, it is very hard to convey an email that I can come in and be a sales coach for your organization or outsource your lead gen to me when you're trying to rely on content or email to do that. Because the notion behind that as brand, those terms are not great. Outbound agencies always fail. Oh, they suck. They just appointment setters. And so it's very hard to build that equity with people and that trust. And so I had to go differently at it and literally be a practitioner and just kind of show them when selling, when delivering, when building my infrastructure, getting everything off the ground, that's all I had to rely on. And that just kind of forged the path now to where I can thrive as a founder led, right, and be in these trenches. But you just have to be careful because it's a different transition, and it's tough.
Even before we started recording, we were just talking about that
Yeah.
few founders know what works because they're not down in the trenches. And we were just talking about email and how email has changed, I think, in the past
Oh.
2 years. Like, it keeps changing every single day. Like, there's data providers that now have built email infrastructures built in.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I found out the hard way that the email infrastructure that some data tools are providing was not working. Emails were landing in spam, and we had to set up like separate email infrastructure tools to get, our email to land in inboxes and just be relevant and reach prospects, right?
And that's it, right? And email is foundational right now. It still is. It's the one channel that you do own, but you have to stand out in it. And for me, when I'm trying to do the email side, deliverability is the most biggest foundation. And again, I started in 2007. Most people don't even remember like Yesware, and I would send 1,500.
I don't even know what Yesware is.
That's the crazy part, right? Yesware was like a mail merge tool, and you could literally send 15. There was no cap on how many emails you could do a day. Like my teams and we would go into Zoom Info and just rip all 12,000 contacts that day and literally send them all that same day. All first emails going out to 12,000 people, and the email's just running. Next day you come in and IT's like, hey, your Google's locked out. Like, and you had to get it reset. There was nothing like spam or all these things that we now kind of take into factor now. And so email deliverability just kind of popped up because of COVID, I think, right? COVID excelled everything across the world, where all of a sudden the whole world shut down and people were not in offices. They were at home. No mobile. All data providers sucked for a good year because everything they had was now incorrect. So everything you saw was new reps hiding behind email. Everybody was working from home. Nobody wanted to pick up the phone and cold call solo in four walls. So you just had this amplification of email. Now you've got Google and Yahoo shutting you down. You've got things spamming, and marking you now.
Microsoft completely shut down. Like, there's no way your emails are going to land in Microsoft inboxes. Those died out.
Those died out, and it's wild. And we were just talking about this a little bit ago. Like, for 7 months, I had a client that we averaged a 7% open rate. Like, that's in landing
insane. Like,
on
I think
right,
the
18,000
I've ever done is like 3.5, and I felt proud of myself. But 7% is wild.
Yeah, it was crazy. And 18,000 emails, and we're seeing this struggle. Now there's nuances, and there was reasons why we had to stick to this deliverability structure. But I finally made the case with the client, and we moved. And now, as of launching this week, finally getting here, they saw a 75% open rate today. And it was insane. And they were like, Tom, and I'm like, I tried to tell you guys, like, it wasn't, we did 6 iterations on messaging. We changed times, ICP targeting, and it still was not hitting the way we needed it to. And so you got to look at email deliverability. That infrastructure is so key. And then once you get that ironed out, you've got to find a way to be different in the inbox. You've got to stand out. You've really got to do things really different. But also what we mean right there, and what I'm so frustrated with reps that they're doing, is they take that part right there, stand out, do all this stuff differently, and they're overdoing it in email. At the end of the day, what is working right now is the most boringest stuff you can think about, Cynthia. I'm sure your data says the same thing. Like,
you would look at my emails because I'm selling into medical practices. Like,
yeah.
I ignore everything I read on LinkedIn. It's not about sending a video. It's not about, sending a gift and adding an emoji. Nothing. It's just nothing. CTA, clear call to action, pain point. My personalization, you're not going to believe it, is the doctor's name, the name of their practice, and 2 social proofs. And that's it. I'm not doing anything else.
And that's what people don't understand. And all these reps, and it's fine when you're calling sales leaders and people in their 30s like you and peers to you. And so it's funny, and they don't have those standards. But for most of the sales world, nobody's getting that luxury of hanging out with their peers.
Or they're going after budget to do gifting, or having all of these tools where they can.
That's the other thing, Cynthia. We could talk about that in a whole nother podcast. Is the people that, like, they ride their high to fame because they worked at big organizations or they had big budgets or they had an 800 SDR team and spent $500,000 on connect and sell for a year. No, most organizations don't have that stuff. Most organizations are Band-Aid, they're strapped, they're just bullying their way through it's just very basic, very boring. And as a rep, you're probably not going to have a lot of help, right? You're out there just kind of, hey, you got to book 20 meetings this month. Let me know how you do. And maybe I'll manage you along the way. So it's just very, very tough. And so what I just wish people would realize is in the email, strip it all down, straight up, 3 to 5 sentences, 1 to 3 word subject lines are killing it when they're all lowercase. Like you said, no emojis in it, no spam words of discounts or all these spam words, because Google and Yahoo are going to scrub and flag immediately. And they can't read between. Again, Gmail and Yahoo isn't being like, oh, this is a sales email versus it's all one umbrella and it's all factored in their algo, and they're just going to feed it that stuff and catch your emails no matter what. So 1 to 3 subject lines, as basic as possible, all lowercase, couple sentences that get right into the point, and really focus on the relevancy, right? And now I would say use video, but later in the sequence, right? Like first, I coach all my SDRs on this and it seems to give them big wins. Email 1 and 2 literally make the most boring email you can make. No links, no PDFs, no attachments, no nothing, no CTA asking for a meeting. You're more aiming to start a conversation with these folks, like a softer CTA. And then once you get to like email 3, 4, and 5, now we can have a little bit more fun and try a few things. You can add in that video, try to switch it up. I use SendSpark, right? But try to send a video that kind of maybe share screens with them and can show them something. Now bring in that case study and kind of tie it in, because now you're a little bit warmer in that inbox. But first 2 emails, do not try anything special.
And what people don't realize is that most of the meetings are going to be booked on step 1 or 2, period.
Oh, we had this conversation, right? Like I was talking with my client too, after a couple things. We tried the whole, hey, softer CTA stuff. Let's switch up the messaging. Let's kind of slow drip them, not pitch slap them, but like do it a little bit slower. And it kind of worked. And then we switched to, she was like, Tom, can I be real? When we outbound here internally as a company, like we just straight go for the kill on the first email. Like we're very direct. It's no fluff. We just asked for the meeting. We switched it up and we booked like 7 meetings in that week. And it was like, oh, and to your point, we've talked about this, is email 1 and 2 is really where the magic is going to happen in your emails. Anything after that is just
pure luck.
Pure luck. And the reason why too, and because I can still book meetings later in the sequence. I know you can too, and there's a reason for it, but nobody on LinkedIn, no content is ever helping people with what to do after email 1 and 2. Yep. Or what to do after the opener on a cold call.
Everybody's just promoting like how I booked 700 meetings from this sequence. And what I love is what you were telling me earlier. The advice you gave me on keeping it short is also going to be based on your target and your ICP. You just like literally you were saying like, yes, that works for specific piece. And then you have the longer, super boring emails that are working with your oil and energy clients and the other like people that are not on LinkedIn. And I think people forget that they want email to be cookie cutter, that what works for this industry will 100% work for that one. And like they forget that what's relevant to one is not relevant to the other. If you're selling to a CIO or if you're selling to a CFO, what works for VPs of sales will not work for them.
So I'm going to let you in on a secret for your listeners, and hopefully we can get it off the ground very soon. As I just had this conversation in the DMs with another person, pretty big influencer recently, put one of the lead magnets out. Hey, grab my template, drop the word template in the comments. I'll send you my email sequence. Somebody saw that I commented, just kind of high-fiving my peer, being like, awesome, dude. Like, yes, great. And he was like, hey, did you happen to see those emails? I said, I haven't got it yet, but what? And he was like, dude, they're like SaaS emails. Like this would never work with a CIO or a CFO. And he was like, and he sent me it. And he was like, check this out. And it was literally like 3 emails to like talking about SaaS products and serve like anything to do with like if you're a product at SaaS. But yet this was a wide stream post on LinkedIn claiming like this email worked everywhere. So an exclusive for you is I'm actually in the process of right now making a cold email builder DIY kit. And
Wow.
so what I'm doing is, instead of a course or a templates guide of like, hey, who wants my email templates? I am trying to put together the ability to help people create their own emails. You become the template. You learn. You all follow all these influencers because you think they've cracked this email game and they can write these great emails, and you're just sheep following that content or thinking that's great. How about we empower you to understand the experience level of those gurus to help you build your own? And like, why did they go with this CTA? How did they get this template to work with their audience? What's the ingredients behind it? And then empower me to make my own version of that email that I can use within my space. So instead of, hey, here's 30 templates for you, I'm going to create an entire DIY like cold email builder curriculum. So by the end of that, or as you're going through it, you create your own email template.
I love that. Make sure that you tell me so that I can tee you up when you do that launch. I totally want to, like, I talk a lot about cold email and I want to help you promote that. I love that.
Well, you think about it, right? People follow you. Look at the knowledge and the hours that you have logged and spent in email, right? Like, you and I have probably sent a
That's why
million
we have this
emails.
podcast where we talk
Right,
about
like
email all of the time.
all the time, right? And so again, different industries, different approaches, we're able to experiment and test and see what's going on, but other reps don't have that. And so all they're trying to find is a shortcut or like,
And like, when we talk about other reps, what advice would you give to sales professionals, as you obviously being a practitioner, an expert on, like, one, obviously how to excel in email, and two, like how to try to stand out in, how inboxes are so crowded nowadays. What advice would you give to young sales professionals that want to get started on the email game? Like, what number, if somebody came to you, what advice would you give them?
kind of what we talked about, right? Where, writing more simple, more boring. But I try to focus more on relevancy in your emailing. My best advice for you when you're emailing is stop chasing the personalization. Stop thinking that is the number one thing to be focused on. Nobody really cares. I'm being dead honest with you. They do not care. And yes, some people say that's a dog and like where you went to college and all this stuff. But again, it's just, don't overdo it with first names and job titles and all these different things, but focus on personalizing at the segment level, buyer persona language. That's the best advice I could give. Is a lot of times when I would write sequences for my sales teams on the weekends, or as I approach it for a client, we're doing cold email at scale, right? We're not able to personalize as in depth as we want when we're reaching out to kind of find market fit for a client. So we have to personalize at a segment level. And so you ask yourself, what's keeping this type of person up at night? And I think a lot of reps kind of getting into this world don't realize how to look at things from a perspective of who you're reaching out to, which is, I guess, empathy, right? Like, that's the number one skill you want to embrace. Is I'm always looking at everything from, how will this person receive this? What keeps them up at night? I try to speak in their language. I want them to read it and be like, well, this person gets me. Like, they're 100% in my world. They get, like, I hate these like, even with outbound lead gen stuff, I can't reach out and say, I'm gonna get you 30 meetings this month for your top of funnel. Everybody gets that email and they're like, oh yeah, you're gonna give me meetings. So I have to take all their hesitations and all their concerns and all their negative mindset to these type of things and flip it and get ahead of it and be like, hey, Cynthia, like, I'm reaching out and I understand your world right now and trying to balance being a practitioner, get your meetings on a day, but also lead your team. You're the player coach right now. You're living in this space. What would that relief? What if you didn't have to focus on the sales part with a trusted actual partner and you could do what you love to do? Now they're like, did you get it? I don't need promises of what meetings you can get me. I don't need all that, but like, talk to why I would be even evaluating an outsourced partner in the first place. Like, understand why I'm hesitant. People don't understand this in email is like, use touches 3 through 10 to get ahead of objections. If they didn't get back to you in email 1 and 2 and you missed that golden window of kind of the luck and the strategy and getting out those first meetings, Now you know people aren't getting back to you and what their hesitations are. Well, maybe they don't like how you presented it, or they're with this competitor and you're targeting that campaign. Get ahead of that stuff. Use email 4 to now say, hey, Cynthia, I know as you're evaluating, a data provider, you always are fed the promises of accuracy. What are you seeing with your current program now? What we found is most are seeing, a 40% return, and they would like 70%. But with this competitor, XYZ happens.
Social proof is one of the big ones that most people miss out on cold email, just because people love to see other people win and want to get those results as well.
But you got to be careful too, right? And there's a nuance to that of making sure, again, you're personalizing at a segment level and understanding if those social proofs even make sense. Because you also can get cooked really fast if you're like reaching out to boutiques and you're trying to tell them about your success in Walmart.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, cool, Cynthia, like, great, you work with Walmart. Dude, I got 5 employees and I'm a little shop in the middle of North Dakota. How in the heck is that relatable to me?
I relate to that because I sell to doctors, and like a lot of them are skeptical with medical devices because they've been burned in the past. And that's a lot of my conversations are like, great, but I'm in the little town in Colorado in the middle of nowhere. Like, I'm an insurance-based practice. Like, how is that going to help me if my patients can't even pay the copay that they have with insurance?
See? And so now you've heard that so much now, and the exposure and the reps, now you build an email off of that. And that's like the 5th email you send out in that follow-up of like, hey, you probably haven't gotten back to me, Cynthia, because I get it. You're a small shop out there in North Dakota. And a lot of times, a lot of our clients are a little skeptical. But let me tell you about John, who is based in Alaska, that only gets 6 months of the year to work his practice, how he's using this and what it is doing for him. Now they're like, oh, wow, okay, so he's even maybe worse than me, or a peer that's like straight up in Alaska doing nothing. How is that relatable to me? And now they're like, man, Cynthia, you get it. You 100% are putting on your persona hat. Yeah, you're a seller, but you genuinely care about what you're selling into. You're learning from it. And now you're getting ahead of the objections with me. So it's like, now your CTA is a little bit softer, and they're like, all right, Cynthia, give me a call on Thursday. I kind of want to hear about that because I'd love to see how he did it. Because to your point, I too am in a local little area, and I didn't connect the dots. I didn't see how that could work. Mm-hmm. Thanks for showing me. Versus you showing them an LA practice in the middle of Hollywood that's making $2 million a month, and they're like, hey, dude, they're like, Cynthia, what are we doing here? Why are you talking to me about LA, man? I'm up in Nebraska down here in a little small hole. Like, appreciate it. Now you just look like you're just completely missing the mark, right? So again, when you're saying the social proof and the stories, I think both of us do that very well. And that's a good way to figure out if somebody is a true practitioner and actually has the receipts to what they're doing, because they can share that stuff and genuinely share it, right? We know what's working. We're testing. We're talking to these people. I'm talking to 10 to 15 sales leaders a week, right? In outreach, and just kind of learning like what makes them hesitant to outsource their lead gen in the first place. What do they like about other ones they worked with before? Have they tried it? What do they want to see? What does success look like in that type of relationship if you were to outsource? And same with sales coaching, right? And going in and helping teams and orgs kind of revamp stuff. I kind of know what, like, forget what the influencers are saying. Let me hear from the real source. Like, what is it for you right now? And you know what? It's not even what you at least expect sometimes. You're like, is it phones? They're like, no, my team picketh up the phone. Right now, we're having a struggle in using this tool. And you're like, didn't know that was a big one on your radar. And they're like, yeah. So it's just crazy.
Just going back to something you said, and like as a closing, like I think statement for all of our followers and audience, you're huge on LinkedIn. I've seen you grow. Like, you have all of these brand partnerships, like brands look up to you, obviously, as a practitioner, an expert, a verified, influencer on LinkedIn, a top LinkedIn voice. How did you grow your personal brand? And I mean, what role has social media, and especially like LinkedIn, played in your agency, your personal life? And what advice would you give to our audience, leveraging different tools like email, LinkedIn, on how to build their brand and how to get more leads?
LinkedIn changed my life. You know that, Cynthia. Like, I with 15 years Yeah, I met you. Like, I built a great community. I started with 2,000 connections, right, in 2020. And I was just kind of using LinkedIn like everybody else, kind of as my careers went on, just job updates or looking to make sure that I see, the person I was calling really worked there, but I wasn't doing anything. And now it's going on 5 years, almost 1,700 posts later, 30,000 followers now coming up on. It's all been built through consistency and authenticity. That's what people are missing. They're using AI, they're jumping on all this stuff, they're trying to do, again, too much. And all I've ever done is just share.
And I love that you're real, that you're also positive. You're never calling out people. You're never getting into fights. You're never like causing stirring up controversy. Like you stay away from that. I love that.
I don't do all of that. There's enough of that in the world. If you want that to be your brand, I get it. Being loud, being crazy really draws eyes, and I get it. If you're looking for visibility, great. Follow the trends, play into the game, do all of that. But I'd rather go slower and more tighter. Like my 30,000 is more engaged and more will show up for me more than an influencer with 200,000 followers on LinkedIn. We see it all the time, right? They get nothing.
They're getting the same likes we're getting.
Yeah, and it's like, man, I got 30,000, you got 4x, and I'm kind of, if I had those same numbers at the rate that I'm at right now, I would actually be beating you or be at that level. It's just because of my
You would
size,
be
right?
rich 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
All I've ever done for 4 or 5 years is just share what I'm doing, what I'm learning in the trenches. I try to build trust because you have to know kind of what you want to be known for, right? And not be too much. It's not niching down per se, but it's just like when you think Coca-Cola, you think of soda. When you think of Kleenex, you think of tissue, right? Or tissue, you think of Kleenex. These brands have this really one thing. I just wanted to be known as the outbound guy.
We've been on these influencer campaigns where they've asked me like, who would you recommend? And I'm like, I always Tom Slocum. It's like one of the few people that I actually recommend because I know that you're real and that you're gonna 100% deliver and they're gonna be happy with your results.
That's it, right? And it's consistent. And that's the thing. A lot of influencers get caught. Like if you're going to lie and cheat your way, that's only, the light will be shine eventually. And you do see it. 6, 8 months later, after this person got so popular and they're killing it, you kind of figure out through the back end channels, like, oh, that's what's going on. And then they fizzle out, right? So once you have to earn trust. It's not about gimmicks. It's not about lying or fishing for things. It's just show up authentically as yourself. Talk about things you really want to talk about and talk about things that you're actually doing that actually, like, you could talk about for hours, right? Like if you were in a room and somebody talks to me about cold calling, I can jam on that for God. I could sit with you for 4 days. It would be days. Like I'll never run out. I could talk about all kinds of things when it comes to that because I've logged the hours, right? And you said kind of like, how do you feel about these influencers like promoting products and trying to get people to buy these tools or do that part too? Everything you do while you're creating your brand publicly, you have to be careful because you are going out to the abyss. Just because Cynthia knows me and she might get the post, the rest of the world is going to see that too. And sometimes you'll see influencers get ripped apart because they're not accounting for that. And they like say something about cold calling and somebody's like, dude, do you even cold call? Like, what are you talking about? I could like, it's not going to work. And so you have to be very careful. And so when you start seeing these people promoting products, it's not like B2C with like B2C gets grace. You see Kim Kardashian promote makeup, she's not using the makeup. I know Jennifer Aniston isn't using Head and Shoulders shampoo on her hair. She's got the salon taking care of her. But I'll still go buy. It's a different world. But in B2B, you'll get crucified if you're trying to advocate for a tool. And no names, no tea. But Cynthia, you and I know it. We've seen the people promote the tool, and we know damn well you haven't ever touched that crap in your life. You've never used that tool. You don't even know what you're talking about. And you're trying to tell people to go buy this product. And so it's just really frustrating. There's a difference between being an entertainer and an operator. And I've got no qualms or problems with these people creating and doing sponsored content. Get your money, do what you need to do. But if you've never lived the pain, you shouldn't be advising others on how to fix it.
I haven't had one of my posts go viral in a really long time, but I'm no longer chasing that. I'm no longer chasing like getting viral. I'm just doing the same as you are, like getting consistent Like my post today, I think I only had 14 likes and like 8 comments, and that's okay. Like I'm no longer chasing like the crazy likes and like the crazy impressions. I think, yeah, my post had 500 impressions as well today, and it is what it is.
It is what it is because it's about helping one person a day. And again, you're going to create, me and you, right? We create almost every day. That's 365 posts a year that we can use. I hate the game, not the player. That's just where I'm at. I don't hate the player. Like, y'all do what you got to do. I get it. You won't last long term. And I'm not trying to build something to where I'm famous for 1 year, a couple months, or I'm the hot commodity this year. I'm trying to build something that 10 years from now, I'm Tony Robbins. I'm a name. I'm a recognized household name, and like I'm somebody that comes to mind when you think of
I love that.
outbound and
I love
sales.
that.
And that's going to take time. That's going to take continuous, consistent trust and credibility over a very long time. Look at all the famous companies. They did not start right out the gate and be something famous, right? It took them years to get there, and just really being consistent. What I'd recommend to anybody right now is, can we get back to becoming the best at what you do?
I love
Get
that.
back to doing the work. Like, go be good at what you do and stop chasing the likes and the fame and the attention. Go be known for what you do because you're the absolute best at it.
And that's why I admire you so much, because you just said it. You're real. You're building one day at a time, not because you want to like become famous and have your 15 minutes of fame, but because you're actually building a brand and you want to be remembered.
Yeah, I want Morgan Ingram did it for a really long time, for like 6 years. And now you run into a lot of sales teams and they're like, oh yeah, I was trained by Morgan Ingram. Like the dude's had his hand in an entire market of sales professionals where almost a lot, you go to all these companies and they're like, oh yeah, Morgan Ingram trained me like 5 years ago. Like that's cool, right? You get that trust and credibility with people because you're the best at what you do. Just always remember that when you're reaching out to prospects, when you're in the outbound world, your name means everything. There's got to be trust there. And when you really build that in a nice ecosystem between, the outreach you're doing to prospects, the way you're taking care of your customers, the way you're building your brand, next thing you know, things just start coming to you. You're not working as hard. People want to send you
And I saw
referrals.
that with my LinkedIn. Like I think
Right.
things started coming my way until like I was consistent for 1 year until I actually started
Yeah.
getting brand sponsorships.
It takes time, and that's what everybody wants shortcuts nowadays. Everybody's so quick. And it's like sometimes the only answer is just time, consistent, small actions every day, right? How can you be 1% better than yesterday? And I'm in agreement. My first year, I was just going back through my posts the other day and I went all the way back to like the first 2 months I was creating. I got like 4 likes a post, 2 comments. It was just to the abyss. But like, I was like, oh man. And I just kept going. Like I didn't stop. I just kept writing and I just kept writing and putting it out there. And then by about 6 months, things started, okay, now I'm getting 20, 30 likes, 40 likes. Okay, now people are kind of being like, yo, Tom, you've got something to say. And then, like you said, around 15, 16 months, that's when things will start to hit for you. Now you've created about 500 pieces, 300, 400 pieces of content. People now know you. And so now they've had some trust with you. You've shown up consistently. You've learned how to say the same thing 7 different ways that keeps them engaged, right? Like you have helped an email so much, and that's all you talk about, but you've done it in such a way that it's like 18 different ways.
And we're creating video content, like to actually educate people. We're not just like trying to push people into the Parakeet platform. Like we're creating educational videos on how to do things. And that's one of the things that we're excited on. We're going to have a new launch very soon where we will have available inboxes to buy through Parakeet and basically the entire email infrastructure. We're doing our launch, which is something, yes, that we're super, super excited on. We're having that launch there.
And to your point, we got to teach people how to fish. Kevin Dorsey kind of helped me with this about a year ago of people are so scared to give away the farm, right? They don't want to give away the secrets. If you're a top rep listening to this right now, you don't want to tell your peers how you're doing it, right? You're so safeguarded. But like Kevin said, give away the farm. Doesn't mean people are going to be able to know what to do with it, but you have to give. So in all your emails, when you're reaching out to prospects and you're talking to them, give them shit. tell them, here's how I can help you. Because if you just help them tweak even one little small win, they're going to come back to you. You help them. They trust you. If I go tell a sales leader, hey, this voice memo script is working for me right now, I'd love for you to run it with your team. Let me know if they book any meetings this week. If 4 days later go by and I check in and they booked 8 meetings with that script or that process, he was like, we weren't doing voice memos, Tom. You just helped us book 8 meetings. You don't think he's going to take a booked meeting with me to learn a little bit more on how we can work together?
100%.
Right? Versus just cold outreach of like, hey, you should work with me because I'm just the greatest sales coach there ever was. What? You don't even know me, dude. Like, I have got nothing from you. Like, what do you mean you're the best? So you just got to give. And so I love that you're doing that, because that's the play is, how do you help people fish? How do you help them find their own way? How do you empower them to do things in email through, your podcast, through your content, through the resources? When those wins start compounding, the next thing you know, the referrals come in. The people are now DMing you, being like, hey, Cynthia, like, I love what you're doing in email. My team is really sure. You're probably going to get the DMs now because of just the shift in your content and kind of going this route. People are DMing you now and being like, Cynthia, my team sucks. They're not getting those type of responses. Any tips you got for me? And if you just share one or two.
Like, I had a VP of sales reach out to me like, I want to build email infrastructure. How can you help me? And I set up a meeting for him and Parakeet, and he's a customer now because they saw everything I was posting on LinkedIn. Exactly.
That's it. I helped a sales leader just the other day turn into a deal because I switched to the setup we have and I landed in his inbox and I get a reply from him and he goes, Tom, you need to call me right now. Here's my number. Called him, missed it. He called me like an hour later and he's like, Tom, I need to understand how you landed in my inbox. I have been sending my own messaging. I'm not even getting cold email from other SDRs, but yet your message landed in my inbox. What are you doing?
That's insane. That's so wild.
And it was the coolest experience. And I was like, well, this is what I'm doing. He's like, okay, let's set up a call. I talked to him. That was on a Friday. That Monday, we had our full sit down. He's like, tell me what you would do if you were in my boat. Take me through the plan. I'm just curious. Wrote it all up. I closed him for $6,000 to go in for 30 days and just work with him to switch it. We got that completed. He went from a 2% reply rate to a 7% reply rate.
That's insane.
In over a week and a half, just by switching the infrastructure. After that, we spent the first 2 weeks looking at his targeting, his messaging, why the new setup warmed up. And then that second 2 weeks of the 30 days, he booked like 12 meetings versus the 4 that he booked the month before on email. And it was because of that trust of like, I landed in his inbox. He called me. I didn't hide anything. I was like, this is what I'm doing. This is how it's working. And he's like, cool, write me up something. Let's talk Monday. And we did a 30-day project together and I helped him figure out email. Now he's making 50x what he paid me because now email works for him. And now he's got his reps doing some stuff. And now he's getting a lot more deals monthly than when that stuff was going nowhere. Going nowhere. So it's crazy, but you just got to, earn that trust with people, give, help. And then with doing all of that, you'll get their attention and they'll be like, all right, I want to work with you. And like, I want to close with you because you get it. And just that small tweak you showed me on Friday helped me. And I see that you actually know what you're doing. So let's book some time and like take this through a true play. So it's just cool. But you just got to give and more, earn trust, earn credibility, put yourself in the shoes of other people, understand what's keeping them up at night, change the way you write your emails, just be boring and like get to it.
Boring works.
Boring works. You don't have to do the song and dance, but like these people are on the go. They have 30 seconds to see what you want to reach out about. Just make it relevant and give a shit, right? Like, why me? The best word that some people don't even know about. I learned this I learned this in 2010 during a sales training at a for-profit education company, doing admissions and going into finance for students. WIFM. The WIFM. What's in it for me? And that has stuck with me for now 18 years later. Like always thinking about what's in it for me. Tom, if I'm going to open your email, why? What's in it for me? What are you trying to tell me? What do you want from me? Like, what do I get out of carving out 30 minutes of my calendar for you? Right? Because you're not the first rep to ask me that today. You're like the 18th rep today to ask me, I need 30 minutes to show you my great product. Why? What's in it for me? Can I learn something in that 30 minutes? Do I feel like I can learn something in that 30 minutes? So that's why I do a lot of audits. I'm like, hey, let's just jam for an hour. Let's do a little, soft audit on how you're doing stuff. Worst case, you walk away with a couple wins and I can show you how to do some stuff. Best case, we get into a full project and I can help revamp your numbers, right? So then they feel like, all right, cool, I'm going to get something. So it's just like always thinking about what's in it for people in your content, in your messaging, all that good stuff.
That was amazing. Like, I want to thank you for having you as our second guest. It was so much fun. I always learn from you, Tom. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this with us, and
Gotcha.
exciting to have you as our second guest. Thank you so much.